So today I'm just going to do an everyday look that I would most likely wear to work and out shopping and things like that. So first I'm going to start out by priming my eyes. I'm using primer that I got in with my Lorac Pro palette. It's Lorac Behind the Scenes Eye Primer. I do my eyes first just because I don't want to get any fallout into my foundation because then it's a little more of a mess to clean up. I'm then going to take my Lorac Pro palette and I'm going to get just a regular flat headed brush and just set my primer. I'm going to go in with the cream shade. Then you can take whatever blending brush you would like to use. I'm just going to use this Sonia Kashuk blending brush. I'm gonna go in with the mauve shade and I'm gonna put this into my crease. You're just gonna keep going back and forth so it blends nicely. Put it into the outer crease corner just so when you do your next one it blends nicely. I'm gonna do the same thing with that mauve onto the other eye. Okay. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the taupe in the palette. I'm gonna use a different blending brush just so that I can reuse it for the mauve. This is just gonna help deepen up the crease. I'm not going to use too much because I don't want it too dark, because remember we're doing just an everyday look. We're not like going out at night with it. And do the same thing to the other eye. Then you're gonna retake that other brush and go back into the mauve and go over the top of that so that it's blended out nicely. This is a little dark for some people. They might not like wearing this every day. I don't really mind it. See that some has fallen out, and that's exactly why I wouldn't want to put my foundation on first. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sable. It's just a little bit darker, deeper tone than taupe is. It's more warm. I'm just going to put this right into the corner. This is kind of like an in-between brush. It's a flat head, but it is also a good blending brush. Just because it's a little fluffier on the end. But it's nice just to do this outer corner with. You can also bring this up just a little bit into the crease so it's just nicely blended. Exact same thing. You don't want too much. That's pretty good for blending. So I'm going to go back in with that first brush that we had. I'm going to go back into mauve and I'm just going to go back over the top. You always want to keep blending it out. You don't want it to be too harsh and you also don't want it to get muddy. So you just got to make sure that it's all cohesive. For every day, I would most likely just put like a light shimmery color right here, maybe gold, maybe a light pink. So I'm gonna go into my Naked 3 palette. I'm gonna see, I think I'm gonna put Dust right here with a regular brush. I'm gonna pick it up with, I'm gonna first spray with my Max Fix Plus, just so that it sits better on my eyelid. And you just dab it right in that inner corner, right where nothing really is, where it meets up with that outer corner color. You don't want to push it too high up into the crease because then it will ruin what you've already created. So it just looks nice, and it kind of is just a big accent to what you've done. It almost highlights the inside inner corner and pops it out from everything else you've done. I like to then go over it with my finger, just with like it not damp, and pack it on top. It almost sticks, which is really nice. And then you have to repeat the process that you really have done. So you have to pick up your first blending brush, you go back through, just so that that sparkly dust color isn't overpowering your crease. So you first have to go back in. This was my mauve color. Go right back in there and just make sure everything is blended out nicely. Then you go back in and you pick up taupe, very light because you don't want to push it into the sparkle. And just like that. Blend it out with this brush because it's a little bit bigger and fluffier. Go back into that corner with the sable. And it's a nice blend for your everyday look. Just like that. So I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other eye. I'm almost done anyway. Some people say they like to spray Fix Plus first, then dip it into their palette and pick up the color. Some people say, oh, that might ruin the shadow itself. Really, it doesn't matter because you know people will spray it, dip it, spray it again, put it on their eyelid, and then dip it back in there anyway. So it's gonna get wet no matter which version you do. So it really doesn't matter. It's just if you want to use that shadow maybe later on not wet, and so that might just make it a different texture and you might ruin it. That's all up to you. And with my finger, I'm just gonna re-put on the dust just over the top just to make sure it pops. Now, I don't usually do eyeliner. I don't really like the way it looks, and also where I work, if I'm outside, I'll probably sweat and I don't want it to run. So I usually just put on mascara. I'm just using the Great Lash by Maybelline. It's just easy, it's small because my eyelashes are kind of tiny. It's nice because it really can get into each little part. If you want to do an eyeliner, you can do that. So I already moisturized my face. I'm not gonna prime my face just because I'm not actually gonna wear this makeup anywhere, so I don't really need it to stay. So what I'm going to be using is my NARS Velvet Matte Skin Tint. They don't have this anymore, but I love it, and I'm trying to find something that is very similar. I have been using the Clinique Moisture Surge CC cream right now, but I wanted something a little thicker for this look, just for the full coverage so I don't have to wear a concealer. And I have a wet, you can use a beauty blender, any makeup sponge to do this, and you just start going around your face. Skin tint, it's as thick as a medium coverage foundation. And if you were to build it, it would be almost full coverage, except for the fact that it is a tint, and it all depends on what you put over it and under it, if it will slide or not. I like this because it has SPF in it, and it's nice and lightweight. And I'm not much for full coverage foundations just because my skin will break out easily. I have rosacea and I haven't found a good full coverage foundation that really fits with my rosacea, where it covers up without it being too dark for me or too light. That's my problem, because my rosacea is so dark, but the rest of my skin is very light, so a lot of things do not match. That is a definite problem. So either I get a very light one, bronze my face up, or I do the opposite. I get a little bit darker and then lighten my face up with powder, which sometimes that makes you look ghostly or doesn't match at all. And I also have like really bad rosacea on my nose, so it's really hard to cover up. So if anyone has any suggestions on colors, anything like that, please let me know. I just make sure that it's all blended in. Just making sure everything's blended in. So what I will do is then set my face. I'm gonna just use, I like to use this, it's Fit Me Matte and Poreless. So when I'm outside, my skin, it gets greasy or sweaty. So if I use this, it keeps me more matte than it would if I were just to keep on my tinted moisturizer. So I'm just using this MAC brush. I'm not really sure what it is. It's kind of like a fan brush, but it's not. It's a setting brush, which is kind of confusing because you could use it for many different things. So you just dip into it and then you just go all over your face just to make sure that when you do go on with any other powders, they don't slip and slide and remove any of your base of a foundation. So that's pretty good. I'm just gonna let that be for a second. I'm gonna go in and fill my eyebrows. I'm just going in with my Brow Wiz. It's in soft brown, which is generally the color that I go for. I am a dirty blonde, so it goes usually nicely. I don't like doing blonde with my blonde hair because that's usually not how people's eyebrows are anyway. Like my mom, she has very blonde hair, but she has dark eyebrows. So sometimes when she dyes her hair, she will dye her eyebrows, which is a little crazy to me, but I guess, you know, because it's so such a contrast for her hair, then they're basically the same color as my eyebrows, so it's quite a contrast. So she likes to make them a little lighter. My sister, she has strawberry blonde hair, basically red hair, and she has no eyebrows. So it's always interesting to see how your hair and your eyebrows are either the same or different, and it's all based on different people and your genetics and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go in with this Amazonian clay by Tarte. It's called Party. It's one of my favorite blushes. It kind of goes with everything. And I'm just gonna use this Wet n Wild blush brush. I don't really care for what name brand brush is. It really doesn't matter as long as they don't fall apart when you wash them and things like that. I do have like one MAC brush. Got it just because I was at the store and they recommended it. So what I like to do, I just make sure that there's not excess blush because then it sometimes is hard to buff out. So I start here and just go up, back and forth to the color I really like. I just make sure that it's all blended out. I really do like a really nice pigmented color on my cheek. I'm going to use my Tarte Showstopper Clay Palette. It has a blush, it has a bronzer, it has a highlight, and then it has 6 shades. They're more of a purple range. I'm going to use the highlighter because it's a light whiter highlighter and that looks better on my skin than say a gold or a pink one, just because of my skin tone. You can either use a fan brush, you can use a small little shader brush, like an eyeshadow shader brush. I'm just going to use this angled brush like this. I'm just going to pick it up just because it picks it up better. just be careful. Go in like this. You see how it's really, really bright? I'll go back in and I'll buff it out. So don't worry, it's not gonna be that scary. See, it's not as bad, but every time you turn, you can definitely see it. Some people like to put it down the bridge of their nose just to like add a focal point. You know, it looks nice. But with this look, because it's more of a taupe, it's more of a muted color, it's more warm, I'm just gonna go for a nudie color. It's a little deeper than your regular nude. This is Lazy Daisy by Dose of Colors. So it's a liquid lipstick. I really like the Dose of Colors. They sit nice on my lips. And just like that, that's my everyday look. Usually I kind of go out there with the color right here. I might do a green, I might do like an olive tone, I might do a purple. I have different colors that I like to pop there, but with this, I feel like I can go anywhere with this and it not to be too dramatic or anything like that.